My name is Ambassador Dr. Tracey Chizoba Fletcher. I am an accomplished and award-winning author and a skilled book editor, and I have left an indelible mark on the literary landscape. My published works span diverse genres, showcasing my commitment to storytelling. They include feminine shades, The Chase, The Wrong Turn, Love and Money, and Jade. Ambassador Fletcher's short stories have graced the pages of esteemed online publications such as Afritondo, Stripes Magazine, Sapphire Blog, Kalahari Review, Salt Youth Digital Magazine, My Shoes Here, Heartland Society of Women Writers, and Tell, with more forthcoming. And my literary contributions extend beyond fiction as well, as I have penned insightful articles for national and international platforms. Notably, I've served as a columnist for Rainbow Magazine and Trumpet Magazine. Beyond my literary achievement, Ambassador Dr. Fletcher wears multiple hats. Now, I am a visionary founder and the CEO of Zobas Facilities, a self-publishing company that is dedicated to making book publication accessible and affordable for aspiring writers. Additionally, I co-founded Elino Media, a creative platform that's empowering writers to showcase their talents through short stories. In my commitment to advance the kingdom, I hold the esteemed position of Global Advisor and Executive Board Member at the Royal Communion of Global Gospel Preachers in the United States. Simultaneously, I serve as the country chair for Nigeria in the G100 Million Mission, which is a vital initiative aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. And just recently, I was nominated as the Trade Ambassador for Nigeria for the European Business Club, that's EU Trade in quote. I'm passionate about empowering African women entrepreneurs, and I collaborate with Sokoko Africa as an affiliate partner, facilitating SME onboarding and providing guidance on AFCFTA policies through my role as a research and policy fellow at the Pan-African Business Labs. My expertise extends to environmental, social, and corporate governance consulting, where I contribute to One Planet Directory and Sustainable Directory in the UK. As a distinguished fellow of the Female and More Social Impact Fellowship in 2022, I continue my pursuit of excellence, and also as a member of the Jim Leach Mastercard Foundation Fellowship for Entrepreneurship in 2024, sponsored by Queen's University in Canada. Additionally, I was selected for the prestigious Advancing Gender Equality and Women Empowerment program, which was centered around entrepreneurship and financial literacy. It was organized by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, that's UNITA, and it was also sponsored by the Canadian government. My commitment to global causes extends further. I serve as an ambassador for culture and human rights on the Books for Peace in Italy, and I hold dual roles as a Sustainable Development Goals Ambassador and a Sustainable Procurement and Supply Chain Ambassador with ISO 2400 Plus Limited in Aberdeen, Scotland, USA. Thank you so much. I linked up with Simania via LinkedIn, and via our conversations, I could glimpse his passion, when it comes to entrepreneurship and, being able to, reach out to a massive audience that I believe are following him and trying to show us the paths that we need to follow as entrepreneurs, bringing entrepreneurs onto the show to be able to talk about the things that they have done, the hurdles that they have overcome, the mistakes that they have made, and how to overcome those mistakes so that other entrepreneurs, probably those who are just getting started, can be able to gain from these words of wisdom in order to be able to navigate better when it comes to their businesses. I am very, very glad and very, very honored to be on the show today. Thank you so much, Simania.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty sure the audience can now see that this person that we're having right now, she's one of those people, from as she has mentioned that as you have mentioned actually, that we met through LinkedIn, right? And
Yes.
I also saw that you have a story, right? And
Mm-hmm.
literally every person, we all have a story, right? But now the stories that I simply just look for are the stories that of people that have that know what, or let me just say, of people that have went through a certain journey, right, in their
Okay.
entrepreneurship, in the entrepreneurship journey. And throughout that, there's some value that they got, there's mistakes that they've made, as you have mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and and
Yes.
and and I definitely, when I saw you, and I started looking at your profile and started contacting you, um I knew that, for with even myself, one thing about me is that if you were to look at my bio and look at everything that I'm doing, you would say that there's a lot of mistakes that were done here, right? Because to get to that specific level that you are in and that I've managed to get to, there's mistakes that are being done throughout the journey, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
is honestly a pleasure to have you here, and I'm looking forward
Thank you so
to
much.
to the value that you'll be dropping here and
Thank you so
everything that
much.
you'll be giving out to the guys, right? And so now, you did mention to me that you own a publishing company, right?
Yes, I
And
do.
yes, so that's where we will be starting with today's
Yeah.
podcast, right? So can
Okay.
you tell us more about your publishing company and what inspired you to start it?
Okay. First of all, I didn't just start as a publisher. I
Okay,
started as a writer, and that was in 2017. It was at that point in my life when I was trying to find out what to do with my life, what path I needed to take in order to be successful, what purpose I needed to fulfill. And
okay,
I am, I wouldn't say a religious person. I'd rather say I'm a spiritual person. So I went to the Holy Spirit in 2016, asking him. That
okay,
was when I came upon verses two verses in the Bible, and one said that he would lead you along the best pathways of life. Another said he will watch over you and advise you. So that part, advise you, really got to me. And I said, oh, I really need this advice because I really need to know what to do with my life. So when I
okay,
did go see him in prayer and, I got that message to start writing, and I said to myself, no, I did not hear well. I honestly did not hear well. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. So I didn't
okay,
believe the message. I dropped the message. And something happened in 2017. I went back again and I kept asking, what do I need to do? What is that thing that you want me to do? And again, the message came to write. So at that point, I submitted to that will and I said, okay, since you've asked me to write, you definitely give me the resources and everything that is required, to write. Even though when I was younger, I did write a couple of short stories, but they were
okay,
stolen by somebody who I entrusted it to that I believed was going to help with publishing the stories. And, that made me have this bad feeling about writing. But when I got that message later on, I said to myself, Tracy, get up and start writing. And that very day, I picked up my pen and I started to write. Although I didn't get published until about 3 years after, it was a very long process, as an up and coming writer. Nobody
okay,
knew me. So at first I tried sending letters to different publishing houses here in Nigeria. I know I sent like one or two in South Africa. I kept getting rejections upon rejections. And at that point, I began to feel like maybe something was wrong with my writing. So I would always go back to my writing and then improve on it and send again. They would always request a synopsis and a cover letter and all whatnot. So I kept sending different submissions. At that point, I also started to edit because when I started as a writer, I began to attend different writing seminars and I began to come in contact with other writers. And then when people realized how good I was writing, they reached out to me and said, oh, Tracy, we've just written a book. Can you help us check it out? Can you help us edit some parts and stuff like that? I know that was
Okay.
how I started I started editing. So I would like to say this, that I actually started to make money in the creative industry from editing before I even started making money from writing. So I kept sending this cover letters and stuff, and the rejection continued until I began to realize that it was not just a problem with me, it was a problem with the industry. Up and coming
Okay.
writers were finding it difficult to find publishers who will believe in them. It was basically the successful writers, the popular writers who were being, um, given attention to by these publishing houses. And then what happens to the up and coming writer who knows nobody and who just has that passion to have his or her books published? So at that point in time, self-publishing began to become popular. It became the norm, but it wasn't something I wanted. I wanted to be traditionally published. And in 2020, I struck gold. It just started from there. Between 2020 to 2022, 5 of my books were published.
Okay.
The first two were published in Nigeria. Another, which is fantasy, was published in the US. Another, which is historical fiction, was published in Canada, and another in Canada. So people were like, wow, how come you just got all this, you just got this publisher's attentions all of a sudden, and then your books are being published? I was surprised myself. And that attention that I got, from my books being published really made people become more aware of what it is I was doing. The books
Okay.
were one of the books, Feminine Shades, the first book published, was so massive that I got author interviews and podcasts everywhere. And then that also created more business for me when it came to editing. So
Oh,
at
okay.
some point later in 2022, my clients began to say to me, why are you just editing? Why don't you also publish at the same time? Why just stop at editing? Give us the entire publishing package and let us pay you for it. At first, I was
Mm.
insistent that I was just interested in editing. It was a gap then that needed to be filled, and I saw
Field.
myself stepping into that gap, because we have very few quality editors in this part of the world. But when the requests, began to come, I had to sit down and ask myself, is this something that you can really do? And I realized the fact that I did have the resources, the physical resources, the people, the knowledge. I had
Mm.
all of that. So I put everything together. And in 2022, October 2022, Zoba's Facilities, my self-publishing company, was born. Before then,
Okay.
it was Zoba's editing service. That was the editing company that I was running. But then it morphed to Zoba's Facilities, and that was when it was born in October 2022.
Okay. And
Yes.
and honestly, that story is really amazing.
Thank
And
you.
and now, you actually mentioned something to me. While
Yes.
I was actually even speaking to you, um, and I started learning more about you. There
Okay.
was there was someone that kept on popping in my mind, right? And
Okay.
as I'm saying this, it's because, and even if the audience, or if even if the person that is listening right now has
Yes.
listened to some of our episodes, right? Then they will know this person that I'm talking about, right?
Okay.
So there's a guy that I had in this podcast, yeah, right?
Okay.
Um, his name is Kyle, right?
Okay.
Um, and since the writing space, it's pretty much huge. I'm not sure that you guys know each other, but he's from South Africa in Cape Town, right?
Okay.
And I definitely think that I have to connect you guys together. I really
Thank
have to
you.
connect you guys together. I will make sure I do that. But you have to
Okay.
give me your concern that it's fun on your side.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a collaboration. We're all collaborating.
True.
Yes.
So I have to connect you guys, because one thing about your stories, guys, it is it's like this, I don't know. The difference between you guys, it is this small, right? Because it's in a matter of how you guys got to it. Because with him,
Okay.
right, he had to he was a smart student, and then when he got out of high school, his teachers who had to call him back to come and teach maths. And then he started enjoying teaching children, and then he started writing fantasy books. Also the
Okay.
same, and also he also had to write. I think I wrote about 16 books in
Wow.
1 year, right? And
Wow.
and that's how I'm saying. One thing about your story is it is too familiar, and I have to connect you guys. If
Thank
if
you.
I
Thank
if
you.
I don't, then even God will punish me, you know. For and and so now that you actually mentioned that about your story, right,
Okay.
in the publishing space, right?
Yes.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the early days of your publishing company?
Okay, my publishing company. Um, one problem that I had at first was I wanted to have a quality team because in as much as I wanted to have affordable, I wanted to make it affordable, for writers, but I also wanted to deliver high quality services. So there needed to be a balance. There needed to be
Okay.
that balance, yes. And we've gone past that stage, and I have a team that is able to deliver and create those high quality services. Now, secondly, was also penetrating into the industry because by the time I started, you know, a lot more self-publishing companies, were doing so well here in Nigeria. So,
Okay.
and it even involved some of my friends. She gets it. So when I began to post about, my business, it was quite difficult at first to
Okay.
gain those customers that I needed to gain because the people were like, we're already dealing with this person, we're already dealing with that person. And of course, my clients who asked me to, get into self-publishing, it didn't necessarily mean that they would automatically start publishing. You have to write a book first,
Yeah.
before you get it published. So at that point, I was like, how do I begin to really, really, do those promotions to get those clients and, get my company on its feet? But before I knew it, I began to get, the requests. It took about a little while, but then I began to
Mm.
get those requests. But then another major problem that we're having is having to get payments processed, most especially for other African countries. It's a major problem. You find that somebody in the UK can easily send money down to someone anywhere in Africa, but
Yeah.
you're trying to get funds from somebody who wants to pay for a service in Africa. Sometimes it's quite Herculean, even though with fintech companies, it's been made easy to a certain extent, but not everybody is very open to making use of these companies. And so I had issues where I mean, we have accounts with Paystack, we have accounts with Flutterwave and stuff like that. I would send
Mm.
links across and say, okay, use this link to make your payment. And, they will get back to me and say, oh, there's an issue. They couldn't make the payments because they're requesting them to do something with their card and do something. So at some point, we had
Okay.
to start making use of third parties. And when you try to make use of third parties, um, by the time we get our funds, most of the profit is gone because we
True.
have to pay those third parties for their services. So it really hampered, and it's still hampering. It's still hampering and payments so far. I have people who reach out to me from other African, like I have clients in South Africa, and we've been able to cross that bridge in South Africa of receiving funds. But then we
Mm.
have people who would reach out from Uganda. We have people who reach out from. There's somebody who reached out to me for, oh, I forgot the name of that African country. And I was trying to explain, I'm just trying to explain the process.
Yeah.
He got tired and said, maybe I'll just look for somebody in my country. So that's a major problem that, we are having with trying to raise funds. And it's also why I'm passionate about AFCFTA, because it's a tool that is really poised to help trade within Africa. And there's a
Okay.
payment settlement called PAPS settlement. It's still in progress, and we're all hopeful that by the time it's really in operation, it's the aim
Okay.
of the PAPS settlement is to enable inter-African trade. So you can be, for example, you can be in South Africa, I give you my account, and then you just pay me and the minute you're paying me, I am receiving it. Do you get it? So
Okay.
there's that entire process that it just is very
Of third
exhausting.
parties.
It's totally eliminated. We are looking forward to that to enable us, do better. Now, the vision for Zabas facilities was to help African writers get published. But at the moment, we're having more customers from the US, we have more customers from the UK, from Canada, from the Philippines than we even have in Africa. And even though it's good, it's a good thing, but we really want to see, things happening in Africa. And when this bridge is crossed of, receiving payments, it will really help.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And thank you very much for sharing that.
Yes.
Okay. And that is very, very interesting because um if even with me, right, on that specific part of having to of having to of the trading of the money, right? Of the,
Yes.
yeah, it is something that is really, really hard. It is something that is really, really hard. And I think for almost every company works in that works with different countries, right? That is worldwide, let me just say. That is actually something that, you know, but I'm now glad that you're saying that there is a way that is being found
Mm-hmm.
to try and work around it, you know.
Yes.
And now just as a suggestion, actually let me just ask you, right? With these platforms like PayPal and so on and so forth, do you guys actually use those and do they work for you?
Yes. But the thing is that PayPal doesn't work in Nigeria.
Oh,
PayPal
is it?
doesn't work in Nigeria. Yes. You can receive, but you can send. You can receive, but you can send. There's a limit that has been placed on it. And the same thing with Payoneer. At some point, a Payoneer placed a limit. I think it's about a $5,000 limit. You have to get a $5,000 limit before you can withdraw. So these are issues that we have with Amazon publication as well. I'm talking about digital publication because before now, when we're the system for setting up the system for our clients, we also set up the payment system for them to receive their royalties. I also have to repeat that our royalties are strictly for the writers. Our work is just to help them get published. Whatever royalties they get is for them. We do not have any part in the royalties, in the sharing of the royalties. So and Pioneer was a medium that was being used especially by Nigerians to receive funds from Amazon and whatever freelancers as well. But
Mm,
then I think that was sometime last year or 2 years ago when Pioneer came up with that
with
limit.
the limit.
You've got to have $5,000 before you can withdraw your funds. So a lot of
Okay.
people who had been receiving funds via Payoneer, for whatever they were doing on Amazon, had their funds stuck in Payoneer. They couldn't
Okay.
withdraw it because of that limit. So at that point, we had to make use of other payment systems, for our clients to be able to receive. So as it now, although those who had gone past the 5,000 threshold, then freelancers
Mm,
are able to make use of their Payoneer account now. But if you're just getting started, your money will actually remain there until it gets to
okay.
that limit before you can withdraw it. So we don't make use of that system.
Oh, okay.
The other systems we make use of, like Gray. We make use of Gray. It's a fintech company. We also make use of Gig Pay. They're all but daily there are changes, especially with the Nigerian
Mm,
environment. To tell you doing business in Nigeria can be very, very exhausting. Last month or so, there was an instruction for users of the Gray app. Was it the Gray app or the Geek Pay app? I can't remember now. Those who receive funds via dollar, and they were being told that they could no longer process funds except from certain banks. So if you're like a freelancer and you're receiving money maybe from your boss who's paying you from outside the country, that was no longer feasible. So these are the hurdles that we constantly have to face every day and overcome. But still, there are some systems that you can make use of in order to gain your royalties. Another thing that people do is
Okay.
if they have family members outside the country who are reliable, they make use of, their PayPal or their account details and the slotted there. So the royalty gets paid into that account, and from there it is forwarded to them. That's always a way out. There's always a way out.
Okay.
Yes.
Because if, even on my side, and one thing about me is that I will give you advice about me because I can't
Mm,
give you advice about someone else. So
mm.
basically, on that specific side of things, there is that problem with Stripe, right? I don't know if you're aware.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
aware of Stripe. It doesn't work in
yeah,
Nigeria too. It doesn't.
yeah. So I also saw that problem that because one thing about even the softwares that I use, right? I use Stripe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that simply
Okay.
meant is that I had to find a way to make sure that I get the money inside, right? And now the
Mm-hmm.
only way to me that seemed to, and I shouldn't be actually saying this, but yeah.
Yes.
So basically, the only way that worked for me was that I had to have a group in Dubai. Then I had to, and of which now that also helps in terms of taxes. And the reason I'm actually saying this is because it's not illegal at the very same time. So, I
Yes.
have a group in Dubai that collects the money from the US, right, and from UK, from
Yes.
Australia, right, and then what happens is that that bank account that I have in Dubai, that bank account is what makes transfers the money to PayPal, right? And there aren't any
Okay.
charges that you simply say that they are being taken throughout because the
Mm-hmm. I
since it's
get it.
gonna, yeah, so I send it straight to PayPal and then I collect it with PayPal. So that way for me it's what has
Mm.
been working, and at the very same time it's also easier to control it in terms of taxes. That is also an
Yeah.
idea. you know
That's one. It's a very big problem that we're having in Nigeria, and freelancers, most especially freelancers, are having to deal with, which is not something that they cost. Yes, we know that there's fraud. This fraud,
mm,
people commit fraud, but people tend to make this error or make this mistake of generalizing things. So the fact that you have a few bad eggs, or even if I don't use a few, the fact that you have bad eggs, doesn't generally mean that an entire population is fraudulent. So now, because
true.
of certain actions of these bad eggs, the populace is made to suffer for it. And then that's why we're having these restrictions from these payment systems. I remember once when I was trying to apply for a job, it was a very
Okay.
heckling process. Writing job was a very heckling process, and eventually I was accepted. And then I was asked to open an account with Stripe. And I remember
mm,
it was quite heckling to do it. And at the end of it all, they told me that I was not eligible because, everything was Nigerian. And I remember I
yeah,
got so upset that I sent an email. I sent an email to them. I never got a response. I sent an email to them, and I just tried to let them know that it wasn't fair. It isn't fair to do this kind of things and just make life so difficult, for
yeah,
freelancers in Nigeria. These are basically the things that we go through, but we survive. We
yeah,
survive. Yes.
yeah. And it's actually good to hear that at the end of it all, you guys actually survive.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, because as I was mentioning, there's, and also as you mentioned, there's always a way
Okay.
around it. There's
There's
always a
always
way
a way.
around it. You
You
know.
just have to look
Uh,
for it.
exactly, exactly. And so basically, in terms of the services, right, that you guys do, what
Yes.
types of publishing services does your company offer? And
Okay.
also, what makes your company stand out in the industry?
Okay, so basically we run the entire package, the entire publishing package, manuscript assessment. We offer 3 types of editing. Editing is eliminating errors from your manuscript to make sure that it's error-free, the readability score increases, and clients can find your book appealing to read. So we offer both developmental editing, we offer copy editing, and we offer line editing. We also offer proofreading. We offer cover page design. We create our covers to suit with the genre, to suit with the message of the book, and to make sure that it's appealing, because the first thing that a potential reader sees is the cover. And if the potential reader isn't pulled in by that cover, then you find it difficult to make a sale. So we offer that service. We also offer illustrated covers, ISBN acquisition / the barcode, digital publication. We offer digital publication on Amazon and Nigerian platforms like Seller and Bambooks. Seller is becoming the way to go now in Nigeria, and also because it supports close to 10 to 12 other African currencies. So if I take, for example, if I publish a book on Seller here and I send you the link in South Africa to buy it, when you receive the link, you just have to change it to at the top of the landing page. You just have to change your currency to rand, and then you see how much it is in rand, and you make your payment. I think it's 14 African countries, if I'm not mistaken. So we publish digitally on Amazon Kindle, Amazon paperback, Amazon hardcover, audiobooks as well. We also publish on Bambooks and on Seller. Then we do print publication, print on demand. There's a certain number of copies, that's the minimum copies for now to be published, and that's 15. We also, other services that we're now bringing in is, we realize the fact that a lot of authors want to write, but they don't understand that writing is a business. Writing goes beyond writing the book and publishing. What's about the branding? What about the publicity? Some writers do not understand that writing a book can open several doors for you, like it did for me. The books I wrote opened several doors for me beyond my imagination. And some writers do not understand how to, put their books out there, how to, create that brand for themselves as writers. So this is a service that we have just brought in, which is marketing and publicity, whereby we can get your book to be publicized on TV, in blogs, on the radio, and major newspapers for you to receive the publicity that you need. We also brought in the service about websites. As an author, you need to have your author website, where all of your books are, publicized, and writers can go to your website and see things about you. It helps with the branding. So we're also offering that service. We've also just brought it into play this month of July. So you want to get a website as an author, you just have to pay us. We'll get that for you, as well as the marketing and the publicity part. Now, what we're bringing to the table, there are lots of self-publishing companies. I wouldn't lie to you, most especially in Nigeria. Almost everybody wants to be a writer. And with the advent of AI, people are using it both positively and negatively in their bid to become a writer. What we do is we offer high quality services, because there are books and there are books. And except you have a well-packaged book, before you can be able, a well-packaged book rather will take you to places. A well-packaged book will open doors for you. And that's what we offer, a well-packaged book. So you have a book that has a beautiful cover. You have a book that when you open it, you have that peace of mind, knowing that your readers would understand where you're coming from. It's error-free. We offer, most of our writers don't even understand how to create a blog. how to create a blog for their book, which is information written at the back of the book, how to write their author bio. These are services that we offer to our clients as bonuses, when they pay for their covered pages. So if you're working with us, what we're bringing to the table is high quality services. And number two, I like to use these two words. We walk and we walk with you. Walk in, that is WALK and WORK. So we walk with you and we walk with you. We take you by the hand through the entire publishing process. You get to know about what it is we're doing. We give you feedback when it needs to be given. And even after the publication, we still check on you to know if there's anything that you need at any point in time that we can help you with. So I've been able to not just create have a number of clients, but we've gone beyond that working relationship to almost relating as a family. That's just basically how it is. So it's a bond that goes beyond just the publishing.
Okay. And
yes,
which is really, really interesting. And I've just had this idea and I will share it with you then.
Okay.
You will see if it, have you and you mentioned that sometimes your writers, you guys you correct me if I heard that wrong. You sometimes teach them how to write their blogs and stuff like that for the books.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, do you guys assist them in terms of the content that they should create?
Like that's for ghostwriting. I forgot to mention we also offer ghostwriting services. Sometimes, like just recently, we had somebody reach out to us, and he had an idea for what he needed to write. He put down a few words, about 1,500 words, but he needed somebody to flesh it. I mean, the what he had written was, didn't even have the chapters or the guideline or what. He just wrote it like that. When he reached out to us, well, how can you help me? And then we said to him, this requires a ghostwriter. So you hire a ghostwriter. We have ghostwriters working with us for fiction, for non-fiction, even for fiction, for different genres. So, when you hire the ghostwriter sits with you and guides you through the process. What do you want exactly for your book? What other message do you want to pass across that is not in the book so that the ghostwriter can be aware of it and put it there? Then the ghostwriter works with you through the outline of the book, the chapter by chapter, heading by heading, how the book would basically be written. And then when the writer's done with it, you pass it on to the client. And it's also a part of developmental editing, because sometimes we have writers then they get to a point they don't know how to move ahead, or sometimes they're wondering, have I written something that's worthy of publication? Is there anything that needs to be done with what it is I've written? That's developmental editing. So when you reach out to us at that point, we can guide you on how best to plot your book, deal with your characters, the growth of your character development, your plot structure, and other important things that need to be sorted out with your manuscript. So there are two parts of it. There's the ghostwriting part and there's the developmental editing part. Developmental, you can also use manuscript assessment. It's a part of it as well. We assess your manuscript and then we let you know the way to go.
Okay.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing that. So basically, on my side, what I simply just meant, right? And thankfully, I actually got you to talk about that part also. And so basically, on my side, what I simply meant is that, do you guys actually assist them in terms of, let's say, I'm creating a book, right? A business book, right, on how to how to get leads for your company, right? And so basically, do you guys actually assist me? Let's say I've written the book, right? The book is done, and you guys have done your everything, right? Now, what I'm basically asking is that, do you guys actually assist me in terms of informing me that um to become the go-to person in your space, right? This is the kind of content that you need to start crafting. Like, for instance, say um you need to create content on YouTube, on Instagram, on how to do this and this and that, right? Is that
Uh, I
yeah.
get you. Yes, it's part of the branding and the publicity part,
Oh,
because
okay.
even before the book is published, I like to sit with my writers and let them know what's the way forward, even before you start. Because let me tell you something, for traditional publishing, right now, before a traditional publisher publishes your work, they need to know that whatever it is they're investing in you, they're going to get it back. So first of all, they look at your follower base. How many people are following you on the different social media platforms?
Okay.
What's the assurance that they would get whatever it is they're investing? So this is basically the things that I like to tell my writers. I like to tell them, okay, after publishing this book, well, who are your target audience? What are the people that you need to reach out to,
Okay.
through your works for them to be educated and enlightened about it? Take, for example, somebody, he lives in South Africa, and
Okay.
he published a book with us called Lumbago. Now, Lumbago, it has to do with the back. So he's talking about back pain. But
Okay.
the technical term is lumbago. And of course, a lot of people suffer from lumbago. So already we identified who his target audience was.
Mm.
And thankfully, he was also working with his target audience, being that he's into the herbal industry. So I said to
Okay.
him, this is a beautiful way for you to be able to advertise your book, because you have a ready market. You have a
Okay.
ready market. So apart from whatever it is you're doing on YouTube, apart from whatever it is you're doing with your social media platforms, you have your writers, get your printed books, keep them, in your office. Whenever anybody comes to see you, because you have clients coming in every day, to request your services, right there you show them, this is my book about lumbago, and it's a way of advertisement for you. And he was
Okay.
able to move this. Something just coming to me, the success story of one of my writers. She reached out to me, I think that was last week or 2 weeks ago, to tell me about it. So it wasn't actually her book that was published, it was her mother's book. And
Okay.
her mother, before she died, while she lived in Nigeria, she worked with a publishing company. And eventually, when she went back to the US, she tried looking for a publisher. There was no publisher. So she died without, her book being published. So several
Okay.
parts of her life were missing. And then her daughter wanted to get this book published. But by the time she sent the manuscripts to us and we did the manuscript assessment, we realized that, the way it ended, wouldn't be appealing to the readers.
Mm.
So we had to advise her at that point to bring her own point of view as the daughter, and then be able to let the readers know how her mother died, and, other parts of the story to make it, you know, more interesting. It was a memoir, actually. And
Okay.
we showed her how to go about pushing the book, from having public signings at different bookstores and what have you, and basically where the target audience was, which is the older generation. And the sale of the book was quite massive within 2 weeks. And she just reached out to me about last month, and she said, oh, she was traveling to England and she would like to see what she was asking me for advice and how she can get the book into a bookstore in
Okay.
London. And I basically told her what to do. And surprisingly, that was 2 weeks ago, she sent me pictures. I saw the book sitting prettily amongst several books at a bookstore in London, Waterstones. I was so happy, because it doesn't just end with what the publisher says or what the publisher does, but what do you as a writer do? You've written this book, you've put in your energy, you've put in your time, you've put in your resources into that book. How are you pushing that book in order to reach its target audience? The publisher can talk from now till tomorrow. If you're not ready to push your book, nobody will get to know about it. And the moment you stop pushing your book, that's the moment sales will stop. That's the funny aspect of book publishing. It's unlike let's say you're selling what is it called? Even the big brands, we still see their adverts on TV every day. Pepsi,
Mm.
Coca-Cola, we see their adverts on TV. They keep advertising. So why do you think that as a writer, you don't need to advertise your work, or you don't need to publicize your work? How will people get to know? So, and this is one
True.
funny aspect. I had a discussion with a client of mine. She's published about 2 books. And funny enough, she was having issue with sales. I've told her everything that she needs to do in order to, get her books sold to a certain extent, but she's finding it difficult to implement those steps because she feels that she's of the older generation. So since
Okay.
she's older, she's restricted to certain things that she needs to do. And at some point, I had to use a hash tone to let her know that if she visits Twitter, just for Twitter, that's X now. If she
Yeah.
visits it just for two hours, she'll be shocked at, the number of people she sees who belong to her age group, who are pushing their books making a lot of noise on social media just so they can have their sales. Because she had that belief, since we published the book, we should market, we should publicize, we should do everything. There's a limit to what we can do. It's your market. You carry your market on your head. A woman who is selling tomatoes will carry tomatoes on her head and go round and round for people to see before she would stop at that spot where she's selling and people will come to buy. The people will come to buy because they already know her. They know her in that
True.
spot for selling. They must have seen her carrying it around. So they know, this is this woman's business. That's what we do. Carry your business on your head and publicize it and brand yourself. And then you make sales from it.
True. True.
Yes.
And thank you very much for sharing that. So
Yes.
now that you actually shared that part, it's something that you guys are doing. So
Yes.
now I can give you the advice that I was gonna give you, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Um now that you guys are actually sharing with, let's say, with your writers that they need to start creating content online, right? And
Yes.
as they are creating the content, they need to to even share the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you thought of maybe saying to them, why don't you guys just create a course, right? And in this course that you guys are going to be creating, it could be a free course, right? And in this course that you guys are going to be having, you're going to be teaching people a bit about the book, about the things that are in the
Mm.
book, right? And what is the upsell is this book is free, as this course is free, it is the book, right?
Mm.
You are trying to, as you mentioned that, um, for people to know you and to trust you, you need to carry your what you do, right? And you need
Okay.
to, you need to advertise it. So now,
Mm-hmm.
let's say the course is free, right? So there's no reason why people wouldn't want to join the course because it's a free course, right? And
Yeah.
you provide the value to them. Let's say a bit about the book. Like for instance, let's say as I was saying, let's say I'm writing a book on how to get you more leads for your company, right? And now in this book, I will share with you, these are the platforms that you need to use, why you need to use these platforms, or and I will tell you a bit about how to get the jobs, right? Or to get the leads, right? And then I will then
Yes.
say, and then I will keep on saying to you, right, that um there's the book that you can buy, and the book has more, it has more detailed parts of it. And then there's the Audible. You get, and you mentioned that I think you did mention that you guys do on Audible also. Yeah, so
Yes.
you
Yes.
can, you just keep on sending them, and that way you need to remember one thing, which is with social media, right? Social media, it's something that I could say that you cannot control social media, right? You can run advertising,
That's true.
you can get the people, they can buy the book, right? But what happens is that those people can forget about you, right? But now, the moment you have those people in a community, right? You can now start
Yes.
controlling how everything starts moving, right? You create content on your
Mm.
YouTube channels. Those people that are in your community, you can then start driving them there. That is just an idea that I had while you were sharing
Yes.
about it.
Yes. The most important thing is you don't start to talk about your book when your book is published. Publicity starts before the
Before,
book is published.
yeah,
So even when you're just writing your book, that's when you begin to build a community. You know,
true.
a community of writers that you can fall back on. And that's why I always tell them, before you even get started, a page that is separate from your profile, or if you're on Facebook, open another page.
Okay.
Invite your friends, invite your family. Begin to build your community from there. Through that page, you can give snippets about what it is you're writing. If you've done any research, you talk about it. If there's certain parts of your book you just want to release for them to see and be curious about it, these are things that you can do in order to gain. Even if you want to do, you can even start from there to create the awareness for your pre-order. The sales doesn't necessarily have to start when your book is published. If you're able to do that successfully, you can even have pre-orders before the book is finally published. Do you get it? These are all the things that you can do. So we tell them this, but one thing is that, excuse me, one thing is this, and I've seen it in the Nigerian industry, I don't know about South Africa, is that most of the writers are lazy when it comes to branding. No, it's true. They're very lazy, and sometimes I like to tell them, you need to see your foreign counterparts and see what it is they're doing, so that you can be motivated by what they're doing. Because they don't care if it's even one person or two people who just read their book, but they will be all over the place with their book because they want people to be aware of it. Do you get it? So you need to also have the same mindset. Sometimes when I tell them about doing Facebook Live or Instagram Live to interact, at my age, how will I do this? And then I tell them, I say, how do you think, because it's you were so successful with yours, so once you be like you, and I look at them and say, do you think it was easy? I went on the Facebook Lives, I went on the Instagram Lives, I was everywhere in order to gain awareness for my book. So what makes you different? Did you get it? What makes you different? If you posted about your book on YouTube today, then you don't post about it until the next 2-3 months. You expect a miracle to just fall down from heaven. It doesn't work like that. You need to work for whatever it is that you will get. But until Nigerian writers and African writers really see this is why I said this at the beginning, until they really see their business as building a brand for themselves. Did you get it? You may not necessarily even get that monetary income from the sales of your book, but just writing about, a certain topic and presenting and packaging it can open doors that would even lead you to higher places. Do you get it? That's one thing about it. And you talked about courses. Not everybody, will be able to create courses because we have fiction and we have non-fiction. Do you get it? Not everybody will be able to create courses that have to do with their books. Well, one thing that, writers in the fiction category do is, if you begin to create like your email list, you can offer, a free book. You can offer a free book and use that as a yardstick in order to get subscribers, get people to subscribe. Do you get it? You get people to subscribe, you begin to build a community, you begin to build an email list so that whenever it is your book is published, you just announce it and send it to them. And, even if you have like 100 subscribers, maybe 50 will buy. I mean, that's lovely. There are people who get published and 2 months after, there's been no sale. I've seen it. I've seen that happen. It's very possible. Now, who are you going to blame? Will you blame the publisher?
Oh, yes, sir.
You blame yourself because it shows that something is wrong. If you don't have family who's able to purchase your book, if you don't have friends who are able to purchase your book, if you don't have people where you work or in the church or mosque that you attend, or your neighbors, or just unable to buy your book, there's a problem somewhere. Something is wrong with you. So build a community even before your book is published. They will help you. By the time one person shares about your book, another person talks about your book. Do you get it? I also talk to let my writers know about a platform called Goodreads, because most people have issues with Amazon. Amazon also has its restrictions. If you haven't spent a certain amount of money on Amazon, you can drop reviews. So even if a writer, you can drop reviews. So I told them, make use of the Goodreads platform. It's for free. If your book is on Goodreads, You can even make friends via Goodreads, because Goodreads is a platform for writers all over the world. You get to meet other writers. Get your friends and family to drop reviews for your book on that platform. Take those reviews and use them on social media to talk about your book. Oh, this person wrote a review about my book. Oh, see, this is beautiful. These are all ways that you can use to publicize your book. And the end of it is, until, like I said, you see your business as a brand, you take it serious, and you're committed to it, then you will see results.
Okay. And
Yes.
yeah, and thank you very much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically now, what trends do you actually see in the publishing industry today, and how is your company adapting to these changes?
It's AI. It's basically artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Not just my company, it's the creative industry itself. About 2 weeks ago, I had a 2-hour conversation with a colleague of mine who also runs a self-publishing company, and we were just talking and sharing ideas. I
Okay.
don't know why the creative industry has been so hit like this with the introduction of AI, because it's affecting everybody. Graphic designers are affected in the sense that, people are no longer sourcing images from graphic designers. Rather, they source images via these online platforms, via this
Mm,
AI, whatever. So now you don't even have graphic designers. Now we're calling them graphic editors. Because before, where you say, you meet a graphic designer, source this image for me and do this and that. Now it is,
yeah.
I have my source image, just include some certain things that I need. Do you get it? So in
Yeah.
some way, it's eliminating the need for a graphic designer. I also work with an organization. I edit their articles. They are a digital marketing organization. And
Okay.
before as at early this year, we used to source our images that we use in articles from sites such as Unsplash and Pixel and what have you. But in the last 2-3 months, we've been sourcing images from Bing. I don't know if you've heard of Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we've been sourcing images from. Now that eliminates, and imagine if it's not just us doing that, if a host of other people are doing that, that affects the income of those graphic designers on such platforms. Because sometimes when you go use their images, you might decide, to donate to them and they earn from that. But when
Yeah.
AI is busy giving you those images for free, will you go looking at those sites in order to get what it is you want? Not only graphic designers, the same thing with writing. Now we have people, you can just go, before now, as a last year, I used to say to people, AI can't write fiction. AI can only write non-fiction. But today, AI is writing fiction. You just go on ChatGPT, you tell it to write a story for you. You tell it to give it the prompts. It will write the story for you. Did you get it? It will
Yeah.
write. Although there's a difference, because that human tone and that emotional connectivity you should have with your reader is absent from AI generated
Yeah.
content. But people are still going after it. In some way, this eliminates the need for writers. The other day, I was watching on CNN a man who came out, he was talking about an app that he created called, I can't remember it now. It eliminates the need for a ghostwriter. His target audience is those who are writing about their biographies. So
Okay.
you get the app and then you record whatever it is that you want to record about, several things that have happened in your life. You can record today, decide to record tomorrow, decide to record the next day, until you have recorded all that you need to record. Then write on the
Mm,
app, it will gather the stories together, format it, and then give it to you in a PDF document. From there, you can distribute it to whoever it is you want to distribute it to as an ebook. You can get a cover and add to it, distribute it to whoever it is you want as an ebook, or you just simply go to a printer and say, print this for me. What has this done? It's eliminated the need for a ghostwriter, eliminated the need for a transcriber, eliminated the need for a formatter. This is
true.
what is happening in the creative industry. How about
True.
editing? As at now, copy editing has been taken over by AI. So if you're just a copy editor, you have issues. Copy editing has to do with capitalization, punctuation errors, and stuff like that. That's what copy editing does. It's been taken over by AI. So if you're solely a copy editor, your income will be dealt with. I belong to different writing and editing groups, and I must tell you, there are lots of complaints. At some point we're saying, okay, it's just line editing and developmental editing. But my colleague who I spoke with let me know that there's a software now that does developmental editing, although it's not 100%, like a human, but it's already doing that. Do you get it? There are different softwares now that you can use to plan your book. You just go to the software and drop whatever information that you need, and it was. So I must tell you, the creative industry is being hit very badly by the introduction of AI. What can you do? Adapt and adjust. That's the only thing you can do. If you say, "Oh, I don't want to know what AI is about. I don't want to be involved with what AI is doing," before you know it, you'll be left behind. Others have moved ahead of you. Get to know what is happening and get to know how to use it positively. Now, Ilino Media, which I co-founded, we're working on bringing in an AI expert by next month or in August to talk to our writers about how best to use AI in order to improve productivity. So if you use AI positively and not negatively, it will help you. It will enhance your productivity level, and it would help you to become a better writer. So that's basically what we're struggling with at the moment.
Okay. And
Yes.
I have to actually confirm that specific side. It is really true. But especially I have this friend, right? So
Okay.
yeah, so this friend is in the he was doing what you call this? He was doing a web design company, right?
Okay.
So he was pretty much doing good, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then AI started coming along, He actually the last time actually we spoke, he was not doing it. He was no longer
Mm-hmm.
doing, and I understood that that was bound to happen. And as much as that is happening, but what I actually did tell him is that he should continue with it. And I gave him specific things that he should do, to be able to make sure that even if AI is there, but it doesn't take, and of which he was at that point where he's like, no, the people that I was working with, they are now moving to this platform. So basically, he didn't listen, right? So what I then did is that I told him if he doesn't, if he stops doing that, then I am gonna show him that it actually works, And of which I went into the web design space because I wasn't doing it, right? Because I wanted to focus on one thing with my business. So immediately when he didn't listen, I was like, I'm going to show you. And the next day I started it, right? So initially what I started doing is that I understood that people are moving to these AI because what they want is they're trying to deduct the amount, right, of being charged. But there's one thing that a lot of people did not understand at that time, which is if you can bring something that AI can't bring, right? If these AI platforms can't bring, then you should be good. Because one thing that I understood is that with the web design industry, you create the website and then let's say you do the SEO of the website and then you give it to that, and then they're happy with their website. But now imagine this. Instead of you doing that, right? Because now AI is doing that. You also do that. But in doing that, you also add up other things that you can add to it. So what I then started to do is that I created the websites. I then started to do the SEO, and not only do the SEO, but now I started to include automations into the website, right? Now, the moment I started doing that, I knew there was going to be a difference. So I added automations into the websites, and then not only added automations, but also I made sure that I utilized AI, right, to make sure that with that automations, like for instance, it gets to that point where, let's say if you work with someone, right, you do that job for that person, then as soon as that person is done, the email that you have automatically runs an email to that person and an SMS to that person, telling that person that the job is done. Could you please leave us a review? Those kinds of
Okay.
things. And I started doing it, and now it got to that point where even AI was there. They could build the websites and they could do the SEO. But at the very same time, if you were to look at what they can do and what I do, you know, it just got to that point where the money that you spend was worth it.
Mm.
And then
Yes.
instead of me charging the amount that I was charging, because when I initially started, I was charging about 2,000 rands, right? I
Okay.
stopped doing that. I increased the prices, just to try and check something. I
Mm.
increased the prices from 2,000 to then 6,000 in the South African
Mm.
market. And then
Mm.
in the US market to the UK, it was about $300 dollars, right? From $300 to 1,000 to 3,000. I increased
Mm.
the prices, and there was a drastic change there, because that's the moment basically what I understood was that these people, they have a need, right?
Mm.
And the moment you fulfill their need, you
Mm.
you tend to open up gaps that not even the AI can open up. Actually, AI can do that, but what I did was I took away that how can I put it, that thing of them having to handle it themselves, right? I took it to myself. We building everything for that specific company in terms of automations, websites, Google review campaigns, SMS campaigns, which then started to and by me saying this, what I was actually trying to get to is that as much as there is AI, right, and AI is doing a lot of things, and it's disrupting the market, right? That, but as you did mention before, we've just got to find ways around it, you know,
Exactly.
because we cannot exactly say to afford to say that now that there's AI, we should stop what we are doing. But we need to find ways to try and implement what AI is bringing to the table, right? So,
Yes.
so with those kinds of changes, I believe as much as AI will be there, but um, as much as AI will keep on shaking up the market, but at the end of the day, the people that control the AI, right? Like for instance, as you've mentioned, the creative, the people in the creative space, we have the power, but we just don't notice it yet. And let me just say, we,
Exactly.
we just don't know it yet, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, so I just wanted to add that, and I'm actually looking at the timeline. I'm sure we've passed that hour, you know, we've passed it. But
Yes.
yeah, so just to try and just make it a bit. Let's just say I'm going to ask you about three questions now, and then after that we can close the podcast, right?
Okay.
So basically, how do you manage um running both a publishing house, right, and the media company, and
Okay.
so and so what strategies also do you use to balance your time and resources at the very same time?
First of all, we have people working with us, so it's not running solo.
Okay.
Because if I was doing that on my own, I think I'd have gotten crazy by now. I was saying to
Okay.
somebody yesterday, the workload keeps increasing, but we have people working with us across all of the things that I do and all of the organizations that I am involved with. And secondly, is I am very, very particular about timing. I'm very disciplined about timing. So I always plan my day and try as
Okay.
much as possible to make sure that everything I plan to do that day is done. In fact, if I don't get it done, I don't have my peace of mind. So I'm
Okay.
very, very, very disciplined with my time. And that's how I'm able to do. Sometimes people ask me, how do you get to do all the things that you do? Yes, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot, but it all has to do with discipline, being disciplined with my time and, avoiding certain things. Sometimes it can even impact your social life, being that, sometimes the things time you need to go out, but when you realize the things that you need to do and they are very important, you take that into cognizance and you deal with that. First of all, I like to tell people
Okay.
that, running your business can be a very
True.
lonely thing to do. You find yourself at the top and you see only yourself at the top. It can be a very lonely life to a certain extent. So if you really want to get in that journey, you need to be sure that this is something that you want to do. That's just
True.
it. Yes.
Yeah. That's so true. And that is so
Yes.
true. And then also, what are some key lessons that you've
Mhm.
learned from your entrepreneurial journey that you wish you had learned when you started?
What lessons that I wish I had known when I started? Mm, Basically, what I would say is no knowledge is ever enough.
Okay.
You can sit in your space and say, I know everything there needs to know. I need to let you know that on a daily basis, we learn.
True.
On a daily basis,
True.
things change. Do you get it? So always be knowledgeable. Even if you don't have the time on your own to do the necessary research or get to know about what it is that you're having, that needs to be known, have people around you whom you can call at any point in time, and boom, you get that needed information that you need. So when I was getting started, there is some information that I needed that if I had gotten early enough, I think would have made some form of difference. But I'm very grateful because of the friendships that I have. And, whatever it is you're doing, try to move along with people who are also in that business or in that sphere because it will
Okay.
help you. Do you get it? I've seen people
Yeah.
who feel that they can run their businesses by themselves. They don't need anybody. They know it all. All they
True.
need are their clients. It doesn't work like that. Nobody's an island. Have
True.
people around you who belong to the same niche, the same business, whatever it is that you're doing, be able to share ideas together, rub minds together, so you get to know what is happening. Just like I told you 2 weeks ago, I had a 2-hour conversation with my colleague. We were just talking. At the end of that
Mm.
conversation, I know what I gained from him. He knows what he gained from me. Did you get it?
Okay.
So
True.
be knowledgeable, gain as much knowledge as you can if you want to stand out in that niche or that industry that you belong to. Because what would, distinguish you from the next person is the knowledge that you possess. And not just possessing that knowledge, but putting it into action.
Okay. And
Yes.
and 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 also thank you very much for sharing that. And
Mhm.
now, the last question
Okay.
that I'll just ask you. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially people that are looking to enter the publishing or media industries?
Okay. I'm going to say this as fast as possible because I can see my battery is at 48%. I don't want it to drop while we're still talking. What I would
Okay.
like to say is get started. Sometimes you'd say to yourself, I need to have this, I need to have that, I need to know this and that before I get started. You can never know enough before you get started. Get started. Start right now. Start this moment with whatever it is that you have. No matter how little it is, get started. And then while you're at it, whatever industry you are into, just like I said before, be knowledgeable. You want to get into the
Yeah.
media space, you want to get into the book publishing space, but you don't understand the difference between self-publishing, traditional publishing, hybrid publishing. How are you a publisher? These are the basic knowledge you need. So
Okay.
be knowledgeable and get started. Take away the idea of procrastination. It will never help you.
Okay. Thank you
Yes.
very much for sharing that. And also thank
Thank
you
you.
very much for joining me on today's episode.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yes, and I really hope that the audience have learned a lot from you because on my side, I've learned a lot. I don't want to lie.
Thank
I've
you. Thank
learned a
you.
lot, you know.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for being part of this journey. You know, and being part of this podcast. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned, I will connect you with Kyle.
Yes, I'll nag you about it.
Yeah, and I think I'll do it right now, actually. I'll do it right now.
Okay, then.
Thank you very much. Bye.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Bye, Sumania. Thank you for having me on the program. Thank you. I had a great time.
Same here. Thanks.
Thank